All right, here's the homework video for 3.9, function notation. So in 16 through 22, they give us several points. They just don't list them as ordered pairs. So whether or not you take the time to rewrite it as an ordered pair or not, that's up to you. I took the time to rewrite them as ordered pairs. That way I can get the idea of what my x sub 1, y sub 1, my x sub 2, y sub 2 are. I set up my slope formula and get my slope as -2. From there, I can set up my point slope form and solve for f of x. If you prefer, it only adds one step, but if you prefer the notation that you're more familiar with, and then moving back to the function notation, it's up to you. But it does need to be written as f of x. Not much different in 18. Again, I took the time to list my ordered pair so that I could see what my values were, set up my slope, and found my slope to be -3. I set up my point slope form, f of x minus 0 equals -3 times x minus 4, or like I said in the last one, if you prefer to use y, and then once you've isolated y, convert it back to f of x, that's up to you, but again, it does need to be written as f of x. 20, again, I took the time to rewrite as ordered pairs, set up my slope formula, and found my slope to be 0. Now, if you go straight from having your slope being 0, f of x equals 2, that's okay. Some people even noticed it back at this and went straight to their function f of x equals 2. But I can take the time to set up f of x minus my y coordinate equals my slope times x minus my x coordinate, and then I have a little bit of arithmetic to solve. 22, again, took the time to list my ordered pairs, set up my slope. Once I had my slope, I set up my f of x minus a y coordinate equals -7/3, and my slope in this case, times x minus my x coordinate, and then solved for f of x. Now, 27, 28, 29 are basically asking us to do the same work, but then to take the time to substitute in other functions, other x values. So once again, I've written my ordered pairs, found my slope, used that modified point slope form to get my equation into slope-intercept form. And then I substituted in, oh, I made a mistake. I substituted in -3. When I simplify, the 3 and -3 will cancel, leaving me with 5 times -1, so I get -5 minus 3, which is -8. Substitute in 10 for x in the other problem, rewrote my -3 as -9/3, and 50/3 minus 9/3 gets me 41/3. Again, I took the time to rewrite my x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, found my slope, started setting up so I could find my function. Once I have my function, I can substitute in my -10 for x. The negatives are going to cancel. 2 and 10 is going to cancel to get 5, so 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 plus 13 gets me 28. In the next one, I substitute in 100. The 2 and the 100 are going to cancel, getting me 50. -3 times 50 is -150. -150 plus 13, -137. And then finally, I set up my x sub 1 and y sub 1, my x sub 2 and y sub 2, so that I can set up my slope. I get a slope of -4/3. I do f of x minus 1 of my y coordinates equals my slope times x minus 1 of my x coordinates. I start solving, I distribute my -4/3, add 2, which is the equivalent of adding 6/3, and I get my function f of x equals -4/3 x plus 10/3. From there, I substitute in 10, getting -4/3 plus 10/3, which gets me -30/3, and reduces to f of 10 equals -10. Substitute in 20 for x, gets me -80/3. -80/3 plus 10/3 gets me -70/3. Hopefully this helps. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask in class. Look for the problems like these to be on our test next week.